Hello, and welcome to the Politidiots podcast. This is a show about politics for idiots by an idiot. My name's Nikki Slusher, and I'm your residential idiot. I'm going to be breaking down some of the biggest shit shows happening right now. But before we get started in true American fashion, let's begin by listening to somebody who has no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
Tucker and Kid Rock's love story together.
I'm not embarrassed, I'm a fan.
Fauci. I think I crawled out of the womb with both middle fingers in the air. Sometimes I do things purposefully, just to kind of be a wise ass or look like a little bit of a just bullets coming at you, you know? God damn it.
We had dinner last night and you rolled up in a Rolls Royce, the Let's Go Brandon edition.
Yes. I'm big in Kentucky, man.
And that's good enough. In fact,
those people are all gay. That's nuts. And they're like, no, they're closet Trump fans. I'm like, oh, man. Woo. What do you think we should do about North Korea? I'm like, what? I don't think I'm qualified to answer this. I mean, I've stood next to him in the White House and right next to him with the prepared notes and watched him read like one sentence, then just, let's go. And you're like, this is awesome.
What's he like to play golf with?
Awesome. To my fans, I love you dearly. To you critics, haters, and trolls, go yourself. I am uncancelable.
What's that?
Because I don't give a
Alright, so I want to start this episode by giving you guys a quick update on those DC truckers I talked about last week. So the People's Convoy, as they call themselves, didn't go to work again for another day. But they did make another lap around the DC Beltway. However, during one of their attempts to make a lap through downtown, a gentleman riding his bike brought them to a literal turtle crawl. That's how slow they had to go. Not all heroes wear capes, everybody. Well, it was all right for them, though, because afterwards, they all kicked back in their fold-up lawn chairs and attended Lollapalooza back at the truckers' camp. Check it out. As you can see, tens of people and a lot less teeth attended the QAnon Woodstock, where Q followers believed they were showing off those groovy dance moves, which was proven to be just another one of those conspiracy theories. Senator Mike Braun of Indiana proved that once again the Republican Party is unable to stop being racist, not even for one day. Check this out.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical.
You see, it's not just abortion and birth control rights that the GOP wants to see rolled back to the states. Apparently, the desires and ambitions that Republicans have with this new majority conservative Supreme Court is they want to see issues like interracial marriage being legal or illegal and that decision being made at a state level. I can't even believe that it is 2022 and this is seriously one of the issues and standpoints that we're seeing coming out of one of the two dominant modern parties of this country. This is insanity. Reports show that in February, almost 165,000 illegal migrants were apprehended by U.S. officials while attempting to cross the border. Thankfully, Fox News captured tons of footage of the migrant caravans, so in case you missed it, here's a quick recap.
At Fox News Alert now, the migrant caravan, it's inching closer to our border.
A scary looking thing. Here's a mob of humanity driving towards the U.S.
Thousands stopped on the road. We've been hiding in the bushes waiting. Let's go. They're coming right now.
Most Americans see it as not just an economic burden, but a flagrant flouting of the rule of law as well.
This is a very dangerous situation, Sean. The majority of them were men. They had tattoos.
We don't know who these people are.
Some members of the caravans at our borders might have unknown diseases.
You add COVID on top of that. Those caravans take on a completely new meaning. I refer to those as mobile COVID petri dishes.
We don't know who's testing positive and who's not.
These are unvaccinated people. I say let's try to vaccinate them. I'm out on TV saying let's vaccinate everyone in the United States, but nobody's vaccinated at the border.
I want to know who was a pedophile.
in lieu of visas and vaccine passports, they were all carrying laptops that were once owned by Hunter Biden. It's still unclear if Hillary's emails had any part in this. All right, so for my last breaking news update this week, I wasn't originally going to bring up Representative Madison Cawthorn since I spoke about him last week. However, this story is too good to leave out of this episode. So I'm going to go ahead and break it to y'all. And as we learn more, I'll keep you updated. So Congress would like to know more about Madison Cawthorn's claims about cocaine and orgy happening in DC. This is the funniest shit I have ever heard, and I'm honestly dying at this story. So the Twitter account, Patriot Takes, which if you are not following this account, you really gotta follow this account. Republican, Democrat, Independent, they are the funniest account on Twitter, one of the funniest accounts, and I highly recommend them. So Patriot Takes posted a clip of Madison Cawthorn on an episode of a podcast from last week where the host asked Cawthorn if the Netflix series House of Cards was anything like his experience in DC. And Cawthorn said yes, and he'd also been invited to orgies. Take a look.
Everything else is good.
Aside from that, I mean, the sexual perversion that goes on in Washington, I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington with the average age of probably 60 or 70, and I look at all these people, a lot of them that I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you. And it's like, wow, this is wild.
All right, so Cawthorn's comments have reportedly frustrated House Republicans, and the issue actually came up during a House Republican conference meeting on Tuesday. According to Politico, Alabama Rep. Steve Womack said that he's been getting questions about participants in the orgies, and he's told colleagues that many lawmakers go to bed early and still use outdated technology. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who has been under scrutiny for the last 2 years as he refuses to criticize the far-right part of his party, like former President Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar, just to name a few, has reportedly said that he would actually have a meeting with Cawthorn to talk about these comments. Senator Richard Burr, who's the soon-to-retire senior senator from North Carolina, the same state that Cawthorn hails from, criticized Cawthorn's penchant for drama on Tuesday, and when he was asked about Cawthorn's performance so far, Burr told CNN that's for his constituents to figure out, but clearly he's been an embarrassment at times. Usually I would take what Madison Cawthorn says with a grain of salt because you can't trust him as far as you can throw him, but this one seems to be where there's smoke, there's fire, because it's the way the House Republicans are actually reacting to this. They don't react to anything. Marjorie Taylor Greene, they don't react to what she does. Donald Trump, they don't react to what he does. Gosar, Gomer, all these people, Matt Gaetz, nobody reacts to them, but they are all reacting to this. I don't know how much truth is in there, but there's always been reports of certain members of Congress that are still there that they partake, they like to go skiing, and that I guess there's orgies. I didn't know that part, but wouldn't shock me. I'm really excited to see who this allegedly was partaking in all of these. My guess is that it's probably Matt Gaetz, and I'm hoping that it is, and there's proof, because this would definitely solidify an arrest for him. But this is still breaking. I'm really interested to see what comes out of this conversation with McCarthy and Cawthorn. And Lord, I just want to know who is inviting Madison Cawthorn to have orgies, and who on Capitol Hill is having orgies, because besides young Mitt Romney and AOC, nobody up there is hot. Nobody wants to sleep with. I don't know. I just can't wait to see how this one unfolds. Definitely leave a guess in the comments below on who you think is up in Washington, D.C. having orgies and doing cocaine and inviting Madison Cawthorn. Last week, the Senate held proceedings for SCOTUS nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, and although Republicans initially vowed that they would not turn Judge Jackson's hearing into a circus, the clown show arrived right on time. Seen here pulling up in the clownvoy were Senators Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, Chuck Grassley, Marsha Blackburn, and Lindsey Graham. All right, so the first one up on the list is Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley was an embarrassing simp who ranted on KBG about pedophile cases that even the GOP shot down his logic. When the GOP sides with the black SCOTUS liberal nominee, you fucked up, bud. KBG was trying to explain how sentencing is up to interpretation to him and discuss discretion on sentencing guidelines and statutes, circumstances of defendant, nature of crime, victims, age of the offender. Meanwhile, Hawley goes out and makes it sound like she's pro-pedophilia and supports child pornography. Well, this guy supports Clarence Thomas, who's the reason that the term long dong silver is in our national archives. And he also supported Brett Kavanaugh, who had multiple accusations of sexual assault. And he still supports Matt Gaetz and Trump, who have multiple accusers. Trump's got 26 accusers, and Matt Gaetz has got God knows how many people, but he definitely screwed a 17-year-old. I mean, what are we doing here, bud? You want to talk about pedophilia? You're such a damn hypocrite. Shut up. All right, so on to the next clown of the day. During his questioning of KBJ on Tuesday and Wednesday, Lindsey Graham began with complaints about Democratic treatment of past Republican judicial nominees and concluded with a giddy plea for a different class of criminal to be thrown in jail forever. Sometimes these fits were directed towards KBJ, other times they were directed towards the committee chairman, Senator Dick Durbin, who, after decades of knowing Graham, still can't figure out what the fuck to do with him. When asking KBJ unconstitutional questions on what her faith was after his 30 minutes had already expired, on Tuesday, Graham opened his time with a series of questions peppering Jackson about her religion, her Christian denomination, how often she attends services, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how faithful would you say you are in terms of religion? I didn't realize that she was auditioning for a role in a convent, not on the Supreme Court. Graham's substantive questioning on Tuesday related to Jackson's work representing defendants at Guantanamo Bay and statements she had made on behalf of her clients. He made it very clear that he did not love this, or what she did, or what amicus briefs she drafted. And then he also on Tuesday jumped into the fray over this, asking why she didn't maximize sentences for certain possessors of child pornography, and repeatedly berated and interrupted her while she attempted to answer his questions. The exchange lasted well beyond Graham's allotted time, and Durbin was incapable of cutting Graham off despite repeated efforts. Turn the mic off. Check it out.
In prison.
Good. Good.
I understand.
Absolutely
Senator,
good. I hope you are. Good.
Allow her to finish, please.
I hope you go to jail for 50 years if you're on the internet trolling for images of children and sexual exploitation. So you don't think that's a bad thing? I think that's a horrible thing.
That's not what the witness said, and she should be allowed to answer this question once and for all. Senator.
Just a reminder, Lindsey Graham voted to confirm Ketanji Brown Jackson to a lifetime federal judge role just last year. Senator Marsha Blackburn is the only Republican woman who sat on the Judiciary Committee for these hearings. She wanted to hit KBJ with hard-hitting questions that are important judicial questions, like what KBJ thinks of transgender athletics, even though KBJ has no public profile in athletics. She also continued on with questions about gender, sex, and sexuality, and at another point, she asked Jackson, can you provide a definition for the word woman? And Jackson really smoothly navigated herself in this question where she said, can I provide a definition? No, I can't. And followed it up with that she isn't a biologist. So, referring to a brief Jackson wrote previously for a defendant, Blackburn asked her, when you go to church and knowing there are pro-life women there, do you look at them and think of them in that way? Blackburn asked, and she was referring to that They're noisy, hostile, in your face. Do you think of them? Do you think of pro-life women like me? Again, KBJ navigated herself in this situation really well, saying, Senator, that was a statement in a brief I made in an argument for my client. Jackson said, it's not the way I think that I characterize people. Blackburn also quickly pivoted to discussing the future of abortion rights and Roe v. Wade in the United States. She pulled a number out of her ass saying that 79% of American women support some form of restriction on abortion. But pulling on the procedure is notoriously complex. But since the late 1980s, majority of Americans have supported Roe, a ruling that Blackburn repeatedly called shameful. Again, back to the child porn issue. Blackburn accused KBJ of having a consistent pattern of sentencing below the recommended federal government guidelines. This is not true, and it's not wrong to question one's decisions in the courtroom or one's oratorical writings by any means, but this was an attempt to make Judge Jackson look unqualified, and it really irked me because this is probably the most qualified candidate we have seen for the Supreme Court in a very long time. And she brings a perspective of being a defense attorney and working with these people, the criminals, the lowest of the low that in society, that's what we see them as. This is somebody who's going to give insight from another perspective that is missing on this court. And they continuously attacked her over and over again, and they were incorrect. They were making shit up. If you look at what KBG's guidelines were in sentencing, she actually was in compliance and in standard with other federal judges handling similar cases. It was complete bullshit. So lastly, one of the biggest surprises out of the hearing was when Ted Cruz pulled out a children's book about racist babies. And the shocking part wasn't what the book was about, it was just that he could apparently even read. He questioned Jackson about children's books, which she had no say over, nor had she ever even seen them. Not once in his 30 minutes did Ted Cruz cite a single law book in his rant. And the best part was after his racist babies children's book stunt, Cruz was caught immediately after searching his name on Twitter. It's really perplexing because how do all these idiots shape the decisions of law students who are deciding how they may get through a hearing themselves in the future with such predatory attacks? And Cruz is a constitutional lawyer. Everyone will tell you that he is apparently a brilliant scholar and a brilliant constitutional lawyer. It's a game with him. And he knows as a public defender that is the bedrock principle of our criminal justice system and our constitutional rights. You have your Miranda rights, your due process rights. He knows this because everyone will tell you Ted Cruz, even though he acts like an idiot, he's not. And so it's really disrespectful, and it really just came off as him trying to cause a stir on Twitter while taking Judge Jackson's moment away from her and disrespecting her at the same time, which is a talent Ted Cruz tends to do with everyone.
They include a book called Anti-Racist Baby. Well, one portion of the book says babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There is no neutrality. Another portion of the book, they recommend the babies confess when being racist. Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
Senator, I have not reviewed any of those books, any of those ideas. They don't come up in my work as a judge, which I'm respectfully here to address. In my work as a judge, which is evidenced from my near decade on the bench.
Okay, good. Then let's go back to your work as a judge.
So if the Republicans take majority of the House, you elect a subset of people like, Laura Loomer in Florida. They make it clear to Kevin McCarthy they will not vote for him for Speaker. In fact, they will abstain on every question before the House until they make Donald Trump Speaker. Once Trump became Speaker, I am convinced, it's only a matter of time, Biden's own people will remove him under the 25th Amendment. That leaves Kamala Harris as your president. she would then have to be impeached. People say to me, really? Well, for what crime? How about denying the effectiveness of ivermectin and pushing a vaccination which enhances the chances of you will get the vaccination and die? I would say that's pretty good grounds. Trust me, the votes can be gotten to impeach that cackling hyena, in which case Donald Trump would become president before the 2024 election.
All I have to say about today's Politidiot is that anyone who gets a tattoo of Richard Nixon's face automatically labels themselves as a dickhead. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Please make sure to subscribe, share, and hit the like button. Also check out the About section below for links to follow us on social media. You can catch us on Twitter at PolitidiotspOd or my personal Twitter at DarkLordSlush, as well as make sure you check out my columns on the ringsidereport.com. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
Is it me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Maybe I am. Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain.